This show is brought to you by Databril, the scalable Amazon PPC management for large Amazon sellers and brands. Visit sellersessions.com/agency for more details. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, we bring in Kevin King. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Danny?
Yeah, good. What have you been up to recently since we had you last on a few months ago? You've been a busy man.
I've been a busy man. I think I've done about 14 conferences so far this year, just going crazy. As you know, in this business, sometimes who you know is how far you go.
Yeah.
I've been speaking at several and just attending a whole bunch. This is kind of the year of the conference. I told the wife, we're going to be traveling a lot this year, and next year we'll cut it back. But just getting out there and beating the pavement.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we cross over. We don't often cross over because the conferences I speak at, but it seems to be this time we will, because you're going to be in Germany for Private Label Days. So I'll be speaking there. So I'll see you, Will, Corin Woodmass, and there's a few other guys coming over on the English track. Right. And then you're over with Shelley and Richard in the UK for Scale for E-Tail, which I spoke at. Was it last month? I think it was.
Yeah, we're doing like you said, June 7th, I think, over in Germany. You and I are speaking, and then June 12th, 13th, and 14th, I believe it is, speaking there in London. Yeah. The first day is like for beginners. The second day is more people who are already selling. And the third day is like a private mastermind for people that want to know the advanced tactics that $1 million sellers use.
Cool.
And then going from there over to another one after that, going to Romania for an Amazon event there, and then going to the Ukraine, to Kiev, to speak at one over in Kiev. So busy times.
Excellent. We'll put all that information in the show notes and links to all the relevant events and stuff there, so people can get access to them. So today, let's talk about a few things. I want to talk about the congruency between the Amazon Choice Badge, how it works effectively for people, because people know of it, but they don't know pretty much in depth about it. The bestseller badge, which is obviously, is pretty obvious. And then obviously there's Amazon Broad Nose. I know this thing has been covered time and time again, but I think as more and more Amazon becomes more and more relevant with their categories and with people jumping into different nodes, it can actually have quite a negative impact. So they're the kind of things I'd like to cover with you today, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Be happy to talk about that.
So let's just jump in straight off the bat. Let's go in with the Amazon Choice Badge. Give us a little bit of background of what it is for some of the newer listeners.
Sure. Amazon's Choice has been around, about a year or so now, give or take. And to the consumer out there, the average Amazon shopper, they have no clue what that means. They think that probably means that there's some guy sitting over at Amazon that's like looking at it through the warehouse or looking at all the products going, this one's my favorite one. Yeah. They think it's more like, you go into the bookstore and this is the editor's pick, on the shelf. And it's really not that at all. It's all based on the algorithm. And I saw someone post recently on Facebook, like, oh, look, they're starting to show now how you get Amazon's Choice Badge. They're showing that this has got less returns than, on the product page. Now they're starting to show, they're testing this, that this one's 85% less return rate, or people rate this higher or whatever. Yeah. And I don't think that has much to do with the Amazon's Choice Badge. But all the information that I have is completely different. I mean, that might factor in slightly, but the main thing that Amazon's Choice is used for is for Alexa. Yeah. So on Alexa, if you're talking to Alexa and you say, hey, order me some toilet paper, how does it know out of the 10,000 different toilet papers which one to order? Yeah. And the one that it does is the one that has the Amazon's Choice Badge. Yeah. And so the Amazon's Choice Badge is primarily based on blind buys. Mm-hmm. So what that means is that people aren't looking at the images or the product description. They're basically adding it straight to the cart from the search results. So that tells Amazon that must be the one that people really want. Because they're not even looking to read about it. They're not even, because you can't know about it. Alexa, as of right now, you can't say, tell me about this toilet paper. It's just going to throw it in your cart. So that's how they do it. So there's ways to influence that. If it's basically based on add to carts plus conversions, purchase. It's called purchase intent, which is a combination of adds to carts, a little bit of the wish list, and actually purchases. So it's you add those three together, and that whatever has the highest ranking for that particular keyword has Amazon's Choice. So just unlike a bestseller badge, which we'll talk about in a minute, I guess, the Amazon's Choice Badge is not based on the ASIN, it's based on the keyword. So you could have it for one keyword and not have it for another keyword.
Yeah.
And so that confuses some people as well. There's ways to influence that. There are, if you're willing to do a little bit of a trickery and you can actually use some scripts. There's one like I think Diabotic Labs, TrafficBot. Diabotic Labs does this. I know a lot of people use that. We've told people about that you need a little bit of programming savvy. It's not just not just to go plug your ASIN in and it works. You need someone that kind of knows how to run it. But that I know people have had great success with that. They basically, it adds stuff to the cart blindly. It creates the special links that if you run a Facebook ad or send an email out to your email list, it'll just throw that straight into the cart. It bypasses the product description page. And if you get enough of those, then you can get the Amazon's choice. And for some reason, Amazon doesn't award the choice badge on every keyword. Mm-hmm. You may have 100 different keywords you're ranking for, but I don't know the logic. Maybe you know a little bit more about that than me, but some of those, just for whatever reason, they're not eligible to have a Amazon's choice badge.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's interpretation, right? We do all different tests. I mean, the people I've spoken to like Anthony, Lee, and I have gone in depth and had a chat about this. We talked about, how can we test this with our own Alexa? Do we test it on our own account? All those different kind of things. But, there seems to be accumulation, like you kind of really refined the three key elements, but we looked at, is it available on Prime? Is it a lower return rate? Is the pricing correct on it? Is it a bestseller in the category? Obviously, keyword is a massive factor, but I think you crystallize the most key points. But it'd be really interesting to find a great way of, like testing it so that each and every time you've got a clearer idea of what you're trying to achieve. Have you tried to test it in any way?
I have. I've run some through that bot that I mentioned. It's it's a software tool that does, besides Amazon's choice, it does a lot of other stuff. And I know a buddy of mine in another mastermind that we meet every week, on a Skype call. He's been using it with great success, and all he's doing is sending traffic to it, add to carts, basically. And, some of those people might randomly buy, but for the most part, they're not buying, but he's getting the choice badge. So I think, like you said, I think there may be some other criteria involved, but the primary driving factors is that purchase intent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and you can't have the Amazon's choice and the bestseller either
at the same time.
Yeah, you can't have them at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of does away with the belief that the bestseller in its category, because, like you just said, you can't have both at the same time. So that would denote one of the functionalities there, wouldn't it? So I just mentioned earlier, like bestseller in the category, but as you said, you can't have both badges. So it'd be interesting now this starts to play out, especially the way the movement of voice search. Where you seeing the puck going with voice search?
I think it's growing, but I think it's still got a ways to go before it's going to become the de facto thing. I think that is the future, but I think it's 5 years away before it's real dominant in any way. I think a lot of people now are using their Alexas to play music and pop up recipes and ask what's the weather and what's the time in London, or whatever, that more of that kind of thing than they are order me some toilet paper. I mean, there's definitely people doing that, but I think it still has a ways to go.
Yeah, because like you said earlier on, if someone is just going to be selecting the product based on the badge, then there's no real contextual element to it, is it? Like you said, if you want to order toilet paper, what type, what color, what's the definition, what's the softness, how many rolls do you need? If the person's command is, please order me toilet paper, for instance, there's no context there to work with, is there? So there's got to be another...
But it is though, if you say toilet paper, it's going to show you maybe I don't even know if there's a Amazon's choice badge on toilet paper. You might have to say, I want soft toilet paper, more long tail keywords to more define it. And someone that wants soft toilet paper, if they speak, I want soft toilet paper versus I want cheap toilet paper, it's going to show maybe different results. And so that's how they're kind of using it. But I think to us as sellers right now, the more important thing is most consumers out there, the 100 million Prime members or whatever, most of them have no clue what it's for. And I think I think it helps definitely in the conversions, maybe almost as much or if not equal to a bestseller badge, because people were thinking like, someone actually looked at this. It's like a social proof. So if I think it's a definite conversion booster.
Yeah, Without a doubt. Okay, so we kind of covered that. So let's look at covering a bit more about the bestseller badge. I mean, everyone knows about it, but there is some correlation there with browse nodes and stuff that's really going to be important for people when they are selecting categories and that attempt to go after the bestseller badge. So let's just do a quick background on the bestseller badge. We know that, it's the bestseller in the category, but what other attributes are there?
Yeah, so it's basically based on sales volume. I mean, it's not really based on conversions on a keyword or anything. It's based on sales volume. So the old school, back 2-3 years ago, is people still do this today, but the old school thinking was like, look, carefully choose your category on Amazon. You maybe don't want to go in the biggest category. You want to find some very niche category that's way down in the breadcrumbs where there's only 6 guys competing, and you can go in there and just dominate and get the bestseller badge really easily. Maybe you only have to sell 5 in that category a day to get the bestseller badge. And what happens on some of the categories on Amazon is they actually take the top. Some of the results are not displayed, but they're displayed by like the top 2 sellers and subnodes will show up on page 1. So the page 1 listing of 16 or 24, depending on how you're looking at it, so that might be composed of 8 or 12 different nodes, and it's like the top 2 best sellers and all these different related subnodes. So that was another way to get to page 1 with having less sales or less BSR or less reviews or what have you. But I think you're actually now, Amazon's changed the way they're doing a lot of things, and you could actually be doing yourself a disservice. I was just last week was in Seattle, and the Amazon sponsored products people came and talked with us, and they actually said from a PPC point of view, relevancy used to matter to get to top of page 1. How relevant you were, because Amazon with relevancy. Let's back up a second. Amazon assigns every ASIN and a keyword of relevancy, so they will say that for toilet paper, your listing is 99% relevant, or it's 36% relevant. They give the score from basically 0 to 100 on relevance, and the higher that relevance score, the cheaper your PPC is going to be. Typically, the more opportunities you're going to have for impression. And in the past, that would make a big difference on whether your PPC ads got to the top of the page. But Amazon just did away with that threshold. They no longer have a threshold for PPC relevance. So you can basically bid your way to the top now. But where it's really going to hurt you is in your PPC. Some people are like, why can't I not get impressions on these words? But that these are good words, and they just won't show my ad. It's because Amazon's not seeing you relevant because you're in the wrong category. And as an example of this, the guys over at Seller.tools did a study, and they took a listing. They created a listing, and it was a blank listing. It was a complete blank listing with no back-end keywords, no description, no bullet points, no title, nothing, just nothing. The only thing that the words that were in were the minimum you have to put. I think you have to put a price, and you have to put something in the title field. So I think they put just like title space 01. That was all was in it. Yeah. And he took that and he stuck that in a node like sports and outdoors, camping and equipment, and then down to like four notches down, like a really niche category. And the category was called like water bottles or something like that. And then what he did is he used his tool, because his tool spits back a relevancy score from Amazon. He's got access to that, and so he did a search for the word water bottle, and his listing. Which now remember, I said there's nothing in the listing. He didn't have the word water bottle anywhere in his listing. No back end keywords, no front end, nowhere in the listing. It's a blank listing. It showed a 99% relevance when he put it in the subcategory water bottle. Then he's like, okay, that's interesting. The keyword's not even in my listing, but just by the fact that I'm in that category and I searched for a relevant keyword, I'm 99% relevant. Yeah. And then he took it and he notched it up a couple categories and took it out of water balls and put it like in, tents or camping and outdoor tents or something. Still in the sports category. Ran the test again and was only like something like 44% relevant. Yeah. So that right there, we don't know exactly, and he doesn't know exactly either why that is, but the point of that test is that relevancy and category selection are crucial to your success, especially on PPC. Yeah. Maybe not as much as on organic. I think they do affect it. We don't know exactly, but absolutely on PPC.
Well, I was going to, if you don't mind me stepping in there, obviously We've got Databricks, so we went across millions of data points, similar thing to what you found there. With regards, a couple of things we found across client accounts, we normalized the data, obviously, because we can't share the information. But one of the things we did notice, we're talking about the whole relevance thing, is that if you've got new listings on a new account with no reviews, for instance, no sales history, you've got limited chances to appear on some of the larger keywords from our tests. It may be different for other people. So then straight away, what people are thinking is, actually, am I relevant? You know, do I need to move around the categories? But it seems that Amazon's taking into play like complete history before they're allowing you to go and bid in the auction. So it doesn't matter how much you bid. You led to believe that it is down to purely to relevance. But then you take another set of products that are in where the customer's already selling them, but launching new ASINs in the same category. But then they will have no issues with appearing for those set keywords. Another bit of data that we found as well amongst all the data points is that there was almost like a diminishing returns. You know, when people go in and do really heavy bidding, we found like 25% above the average cost per click for those keywords. This is generalization there, is that you started to get diminishing returns. You didn't get an increase in impressions. So I totally understand what you're saying, is that Amazon are constantly working towards this new way of dealing with relevance, which is very much the same as what's happened with AdWords. You can't just simply bomb rush the show by just whacking the bid in there and just expecting to appear for everything because of just based on your cost per click.
Now, I know that same note, I haven't tested this in the last couple of months. So, you know, as we know, Amazon's constantly, especially during the springtime, they're monkeying around with the algorithm and testing stuff. Yeah. But I know as of like January, February, if you're in the wrong category and you just couldn't get impressions on a keyword that you know is a good, or you believe is a good keyword, you can actually run some sales through a two-step URL with that keyword embedded. And once you got, you know, a handful of sales, you could actually start showing up in PPC for that. Because you basically tricked the system. You told Amazon they put you in a category and they said, hey, these are the words that are relevant based on whether there's a human that typed in a list or they've got the dictionary or what the heck they're using. But when you actually showed them, like, oh, by the way, we just got 6 or 8 sales off of this keyword that's not in your list, they're like, wait a second, maybe we missed something here. Exactly. So we need to start showing it. So that's a way that you can, if you are in the wrong category and it's just not working for you, try doing that, getting a few sales through a Facebook ad or your email list or whatever, especially full price sales.
I totally agree. And this is why I'm saying it's become more and more prominent that with newer sellers coming onto the platform, launches are going to play a part, because a lot of people, you know, there was a time when you go, don't worry, I'll run PPC, I'll pull in some data, but then if you can't get the data, if you're running an auto campaign and it's not providing any information because you're not showing relevance, you're not going to get the data that you was after in the first place to update your listing, etc. So it's come to a stage now where you almost got to either do your own manual launches, send to landing pages, running Facebook ads, etc., or you have to use the blast service. But you don't have to go crazy with it. You just need to get something. You just need to build on that foundation, and then you can run your test to see if you're relevant for those keywords, etc.
I mean, something I do is when I launch a product, I will use a blast service. I don't wait to get 10 reviews or whatever. I just come out of the gate, because Amazon kind of gives you some people say 28 days, some people say 30. There's basically a month window where they
honeymoon period, the float
like a honeymoon period, or they're just like, okay, come prove yourself, and the worst thing you can do is come out of the gate slow. You're hurting yourself down the road. So what I'll do is I might do a launch on a couple keywords that I think are relevant, because like you said, I like to look at my PPC data, 2, 3, 4 weeks in and see what's actually converting, so that I know those are the words I need to focus on. Because otherwise I might do a launch on a keyword I think is a good keyword, but the customers just it's not resonating. My product's not resonating. I get to page 1, I just fall right back down. And so catch 22 there on when do you pull that data. So what I like to do is I'll pick a couple major keywords, use a blast service, do my 10-day launch, or it depends on whose theory you subscribe to, what you do, but the 10-day launch. And then I also will send Facebook ads traffic at not a heavy discount, but I'll throw it through a keyword rotator. And I'll put my top 20 to 50 keyword phrases in that keyword rotator, and just to get a few sales on, rotate them through and try to get 2 to 10 sales on each one of those. And that way, that kind of helps lift the whole ship.
Yeah, No, makes total sense. I totally agree with that. But it's interesting how the whole relevance things change. So what strategy would you use for people, like let's just say before they ship their product, what strategies would you use to make sure that they are appearing for keywords so they know up front? So rather than getting 1,000 units that have just arrived and they go, oh shit, basically we're not got no visibility. What are some of the steps that you would do pre-order, for instance?
To find out what keywords to target, you mean? Or what do you mean?
Well, just for appearing for relevance, would you switch it to merchant fulfilled, run keyword searches, check your categories, certain keywords to see if you're listening?
What I personally do is I use a tool like Seller Tools, or I mean, I'm sure there's some others that do this too. Because it shows me the relevance score, and so I will actually pull in my listing. I have my listing all. I've done my homework. I've got all my what I think are all my keywords in there. I'll pull that in and let it tell me based on the category I'm in what the relevancy is. And if I see a problem, like holy shit, this is a 50,000 a month exact search term volume, and I'm relevancy of 32. I'm like, I better change something on my listing. I better move it up to the title, move it to the first bullet, add it again to the back end, or something, or switch the category if that's important to me. So I will do that. I know that tool has it. And now some people say that that relevancy score doesn't really matter, but I think it does.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just trying to work out the part of where the calculation comes from and how to judge the relevancy of that calculation. But I think, I've spoken to a few people, some really smart German guys as well, who do a lot of in-depth research around the algorithm there. And more they're talking about, you've got keywords with impressions, and then you've got keywords based around relevance. So generally you've got the searcher's intent and the buyer's intent behind it. Because obviously a lot of people are looking for keywords that has high search volume and work off of that. But there are actually keywords that people search on but buy less on. So we're moving into a new paradox now,
That would be interesting. Somebody's going to probably get this, figure out a formula for this, at some point, the Viral Launch or Helium 10 or somebody, or Celix or whoever. But according to Casey over at Viral Launch, he's saying that in a best case scenario from the data that they've seen, and I don't know where the source of the data is, but of course the data that they're saying the best case scenario is 50% conversion rate on exact search volume. So if you use one of these tools that has there's like 6 or 7 of them now that have pretty accurate Amazon data. And if you use one of those tools and it says it's 10,000 a month, in a best case scenario, there's going to be about 5,000 sales come off of that keyword. That's the best case, but we don't know exactly. A worst case, it's like 1%. And I've seen some data, from some other places that kind of backs that up, and something that you may be a high volume search term, and you're like, holy cow, I need to get this in my title. I need to get ranked for this one. It's got 50,000 searches a month. It might have a 5% conversion rate, so that's what 2,500 sales. But then you have another keyword that's only 10,000 searches a month, and it might have the 50%. And so you're better off going after that 10,000 one and competing there, because you're going to, number one, you have the chance to have much more sales, double the sales. And also there's probably a lot less people competing on that keyword because everybody else is using these tools going, I want to get all these big dog keywords. And thinking that's where it's at. And you could totally miss the boat. And it's a major problem. And some of that's guesswork, some of that's luck, and some of that's using different tools to kind of figure this out.
Yeah. So what are your go-tos at the moment in terms of tools? You mentioned, Helium 10. What else are you using?
Yeah, I use the Helium 10 tools. I use Viral Launch's tools, both their launch service and their market intelligence and product discovery. Helium 10, I use their Magnet 2, the Reverse ASIN, their Black Box, and they have a really good suite of tools. Both of those guys. The thing I like about, I also use Seller.tools. Those three I think are the best for like creating your listing for that purposes of maximizing creating your listing.
Yeah.
And the thing I like is they're all competing against each other. So I think as consumers, we win because as soon as Viral Launch comes out with a cool feature, Helium 10 is like, holy shit, we need to get something even better. So they step up their game, and then Viral Launch says, okay, now we got to beat them. So in the end, I think we all win as consumers by having these three really good, smart people. And the tools, you've been doing this a while, just like I have. In the last 6 to 8 months, the tools have come a long. Yeah, they're like on steroids. I mean, it's totally different game right now. If you're a new person and you listen to the right people and learn from the right people, and you're not watching old YouTube videos or taking trainings that were done 3 years ago, listen to people like yourself that are in seller sessions that are on the cutting edge, and it's a different game. It's a completely different game now.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think more and more as relevance becomes the key factor, it does separate a lot of the crowd, because it stops, I suppose it slows down the competition, because if you can't find your sweet spot for relevancy, you can't be in the game.
No,
so you can't just bid your way to the top on anything and just ramrod your way in. You have to be relevant. And so that's a good thing for the Amazon customers. And it also obviously helps filling out the marketplace and forces people to come with quality rather than substandard products, etc.
Exactly. I don't know if you've seen this, but Amazon's been testing this in some categories. I haven't seen it on all the products yet. It may just be a test and maybe roll it out, but people are always worried about the review manipulation. And this product's got a 4.7 star rating. And, as sellers, we know a lot. We can look at it and there's telltale signs. And when we look at a listing, like, oh, this is totally, a lot of fake stuff. But what Amazon's doing to kind of counter some of that right now, and I think it's really smart, and from a seller's point of view, you need to start thinking about this too, is now on some listings, they're showing 3 reviews. So I don't know if you've seen this, Danny, but they're showing 3 reviews. So they will show this product has like an overall 4, let's say it's a tennis racket, for example. And they'll say this tennis racket has a 4.7 star rating, but then they'll add 2. They'll say tennis lovers rate this 3.6 stars. So they're profiling the Amazon customers, and they know that these are people that typically buy tennis things or have bought tennis things, or I'm sure there's some other variables in it, but they know these are the tennis fans, and they're rating it much lower than the average of 4.7. And then they're putting another one in there that's kind of like a higher level category, like sports athletes or whatever, rated a 3.9. So you can, as from a consumer, you can look at that and you can say, holy cow, this is a 4.7, but tennis people really only say this is a 3.6. I'm going to go with what the tennis people say, because I think they probably have a better idea than the overall audience. And the consumers probably don't know of all the manipulation that's going on to get that 4.7, but I think that's going to be an eye-opener for a lot of people that are gaming the system, and they're going to have to change their approach. And this is another thing that goes into the relevancy and the category selection and the type of buyers you're getting. If you're doing a launch, and you're using one of these launch services, they're just getting a bunch of bottom feeders that just want deals that are all over the place. You have to rethink that. So building the brand and having an audience, a Facebook page of tennis lovers that you've built up, or an audience of tennis lovers that bought your other tennis products and using them to launch your product, I think it's going to become more and more crucial than just using them random people.
Yeah, because I mean, that would actually slow down all the black hat stuff. You've seen them where a listing's got 349 5-star reviews, and you click through and they're all on the same account. Sorry, there's only 1 or 2 reviews on this individual accounts, and you'll click through and every account is very similar in terms of the structure of the wording, how many reviews there are. I mean, that's at some point that's going to tip out, and I can see that being crushed. And I'm seeing some of you have to use translations. You can see there's sellers being taken out, overseas sellers being taken out of the game for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and buyers too. I mean, there's a big wave just recently where they eliminated a lot of buyer accounts as well.
Yeah, I mean, I see someone post the other day. I can't remember. It was Ed. Can't remember his surname, but he does like suspensions and stuff, and he posts like warnings, like emails that he gets. Even now that Amazon are dealing with warning customers who are trying to do too many returns frequency in a short period of time. So they're going after the competition who are trying to flush people out the market by ordering up their stock and then sending the returns to increase their defect rate. So it seems that Amazon's increasing more and more, and even going back into their own marketplace, suspending buyer accounts because of review manipulation and etc. So
there's always going to be people, that find another way, but it's like pop a mole sometimes, but they are taking it seriously. And I think of all the things that Amazon's taking the most serious is reviews and review manipulation. I mean, there's no horsing around or no playing around there. I mean, I personally don't even use friends or family. I mean, I know a lot of people say launch with that. I don't even do that. And people always say, well, what do you do to get reviews? And how are you getting reviews? And the number one thing is put out a freaking good product. Quit just slapping your name on something. Put out something that solves people's problems. It's a good product, and they're going to come naturally. And I don't worry about it. If I've got 26 reviews and the next guy's got 410, if my product's better, eventually I'm going to win. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not in it for let's make money in 2 months and move on to the next one.
Totally. No, totally agree. Right, let's wrap that there. Is there anything else you'd like to add at the end here?
No, I think I think the opportunity's never been better on Amazon. I think it's continuing to grow. It's the easy days are over. It's a real business now, but I still think it's one of the best businesses you can do, and learn as much as you can. Watch podcasts and like seller sessions, and that always have the top level people and the top stuff, and go out there and crush it.
Excellent. And so, best way to reach you, what you got coming up? Do you want to talk about Illuminati courses, etc.?
Yeah, sure. I have a Facebook group called AMZ Marketer Mastermind. So if you're doing over $1 million a year, you have to send a screenshot. There's 200 and some odd people in there, so it's a high-level mastermind. We talk about some high-level stuff. It's free, totally free. You just go to AMZ Marketer Mastermind on Facebook, and you'll see my picture there, and that's the one. Also, I'm involved in Illuminati Mastermind, which is training for high-level sellers. We recommend you be doing at least 25 quid or 25,000 a month to get into that. It's closed right now. It'll be opening again in July, so you can go there and put your name on the list if you want to get in, but we do high-level stuff. And then I have a big launch coming for my course called the Freedom Ticket. It's been around for a year, but the first group of students just went through it, and we're about to do a big launch for that. It's a training on how to sell on Amazon. There's like 396 other courses that do it. Yeah. But I take a completely different approach.
Well, that's why I asked you about it. My take on it, there's a lot of Ponzi schemes out there and shitty courses. I mean, half the content that we do on here ends up in other people's courses. But I asked you about yours, and like I asked about Leran's and others, because I know it's top-end content.
Well, the thing that, there's a lot of courses that there's three things. There's a lot of courses that are done by people that aren't selling. They're either not selling, period, or maybe they sold $10,000 in their life, and then they decide, hey, I can't make money in this. I'm going to go teach people what I've copied off of YouTube or off a podcast or whatever. Yeah. So there's a lot of crap, just pure crap. There's some other good courses. Leron's got a good one. There's some others, but a lot of them teach. This is all their marketing is quit your job tomorrow, launch an Amazon product, and a month from now you're going to be sitting in Mexico in the sun drinking Coronas the rest of your life. Yeah,
that's what I call it, like Ponzi style.
That's just not true. I mean, does that happen? Yeah, some people win the lottery too. Periodically, and a lot of times they show these big screenshots. Look, my student did $100,000. They did $1 million. They did this. They don't tell you what they made. I mean, I know a lot of people in this business that can show you a screenshot of $5 million a year, and they can barely pay their rent.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to be careful there. Ask for the bottom line, and as we know, promotions show us full price in there. So there's all kinds of things you can do to skew that stuff. Yeah. And so, or they'll teach these are the 8 things you need to do. It's got to be under this weight, this price, do these things, and everybody does the same thing. They go to Jungle Scout or they go to one of the other tools, and they're all looking for the same products. They think they find a winner, and by the time they launch it, there's 100 other people doing the same thing. Yeah. So I don't teach any of that. I teach you. It's 22 hours of training, over 60 modules, and I teach you everything you need to know to understand the business. You're getting like a college MBA, so you're going to be out there to go out there and look, do your own thing and be successful, not just be a parrot where 90% of the people fail. And then I do a weekly Q&A that's directly with me. It's not with a coach. It's not with somebody else. It's directly with me every Monday, a live Q&A to help the students all the way through whatever questions they have. We stay till they're all answered. Yeah,
makes total sense. No, I mean, you probably, I've voiced my opinion on this stuff before, and because my background is in teaching, I used to teach audio engineering when I was in the music industry. So when you can see that the kind of affiliate style marketing, and it's very thin on the ground, and these 3 key things are going to put you on a desert island working 4 hours a week. It's just all bollocks. So I'd rather people learn proper information that's up to date. The other thing what people forget about with courses as well is when things move fast, your lesson plans and everything, they've all got to be updated, and things move and change fast. So you need to make sure whatever course that you're doing, it's up to date and it's within TOS as well, because you might go and carry out certain things that were valid 2 years ago, which are in course notes.
In my course, I agree with you. In my course, I teach the fundamentals. So I'm not teaching this is the latest, greatest hack. And because hacks are great, but they're short-lived. Yeah. The fundamentals are what you need. And the fundamentals of business, the fundamentals of choosing a product, the fundamentals of marketing, those are what you need to master and totally understand. And if you understand that, you're almost bulletproof. As long as you got a little bit of money, to launch a product, you're almost bulletproof. And so that's what I teach. If you want hacks, if you want the latest, greatest, you can get that Illuminati Master mastermind, we teach some of that. I don't even use about half the hacks we teach. It's just people want to know that.
Yeah.
And so that's, once you've been selling, we'll share some of that and you can pick and choose, what you want to do. But the freedom ticket is basics, and I have a lot of people that do Illuminati. We have a lot of my Illuminati people that are on the monthly program on that actually go back and do freedom ticket. And they've already done an ASM, or they've already done somebody else's course. Yeah. And they're like, this is refreshing. It's totally different. So I hope I'm helping people succeed. And I just got frustrated with all the stuff like that's out there. That's what'd you say? Bollocks?
Bollocks, yeah.
That's bollocks. I got to get my English grammar prepared for when I come over there next month. And people are going to be, this Texas boy is going to be like laughing at me. So yeah.
No, it sounds good. Look, it's been great having you in again. We'll get you back again soon, as we always do. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Other than that, we'll see you again very soon. Take care.